Hi there, I'm JC Brown, a graduate student at Wayne State University, studying library and information science. I'm here today to introduce to you a graphic novel that tells the high school coming-of-age story of an Indian American girl, Tina's Mouth, an existential comic diary by Keshni Kashyap. When I first picked up this book, I thought, could a high school student living in rural America relate to this? Even after reading just the first few pages, the answer to my question became abundantly apparent. Definitely, without a doubt, but more so for students in later grades. I'd like to tell you a bit about this book. Why do I think high school students living in rural America, or anywhere for that matter, will relate to this book? Simple. Kashyap tells a believable story about a very normal and believable girl named Tina. Her experiences in high school, including her social life, and of course aspects of life at home. As the title indicates, the book is narrated in diary format, so there's a perfect blend of text and drawing, enough to satisfy those diehards clamoring for the written word, as well as fans of graphic novels out there. Because the story is in diary format, the reader gets a truthful and uncensored view of some of the more unpleasant happenings in Tina's life. Now, I'd like to add that the book is not all negative, but I want to try to prepare the reader for what to expect. So here are some of the heavier elements. You get a snippet of a conversation with a friend about sex, her sister's drug use, and of course the raw and unfettered emotions of disappointment and betrayal. And this is why I feel that this particular book would be best for those students later in their student tenure. So the story is centered around Tina keeping a journal for her English honors class that is focused on existentialism. Each entry is addressed to Jean-Paul Sartre, a French existential philosopher. Sounds pretty deep, right? Well, in some ways, yes. But remember, Tina is a student herself and is making her way through the class learning as she goes. She describes herself as, quote, a pretty good student, a decent violin player, and a bit of an intellectual. Her biggest question, which she states is the purpose of the diary, is the question of who she really is. Isn't that a question that we all ponder from time to time? Like any good coming-of-age story out there, this piece takes you through the trials and tribulations of high school life, losing friends, gaining friends, dating, the first kiss, bombing a test, doing really well on a test, love, betrayal, and ultimately redemption. I'd like to share two excerpts with you. The first runs from page 32 to 35, which describes Tina's friendship with Alex. Let me start at the beginning. In the 4th grade, my friend Alex moved to California from Salt Lake City. It was just after the summer I had developed a crush on Krishna. On the first day of school, I brought along a drawing of him to show my friends. Everyone thought it was weird and strange except for Alex, who felt his color blue went well with my own olive hue. We became best friends that day, and school became a better place. As I grew, my crush on Krishna faded and was replaced by more quotidian interests. Eric Lim, 6th grade, David Feldman, 7th grade, and Nick Abernathy, 8th grade. But my crushes are always from afar. Alex, of course, had crushes too, but seldom from afar. Last year, she was caught making out with a Samoan convert named Edward by the church dumpster during a dance, strictly against church rules. Her dad, who's a shrink, got really mad and forbade her from ever attending. So, in retaliation, we sold his DSM manual. It was an excellent bit of thieving because we have become a fine pair of experts. Among other things, we have determined that Ted Fresh has an antisocial personality disorder, Katie Milanova is paranoid, and Ava is a narcissist. More recently, with the help of Alex's older brother, James, who often functions as our chaperone and driver, we hang out at Trotsky's Grand Russian Buffet in downtown LA, where we eat goulash and listen to musical acts from all over the world. During community service last year, Mr. Spencer, this crazy old man who lives at a convalescent home we volunteer at, muttered something dirty and racist. And do you know what Alex said? Mr. Spencer, America is for everyone. Simon Lee, who was also there, made a t-shirt out of it and tried to sell it to everyone. My grandmother used to tell me about the caste system in India, and I once even did a presentation about it. Everyone thought it was totally barbaric, but high school is no different. That's why I love Alex. We've never belonged to a clique. Any day I'd prefer to be a clique of two, and we have been this way forever. And here's another excerpt that can be found on pages 155 to 156. Quote, "In Sartre's hell, there are no torture devices, no devils, just the inability to become the person you are." Unquote. Those words, Sartre, were written on the blackboard today by Mr. Moosewood with regard to our in-class discussion of your book, No Exit, and I have a bone to pick with you. Quote, "The inability to become the person you are," unquote. That you are. The word you is second person singular, Sartre, and that's where my problem lies. I am not one thing. I will never be one thing. I am east, west, happy, sad, normal, freakish, plain, pretty, Indian, American, and quite possible a touch of Greek due to Alexander the Great's invasion of the Punjab province in 327 BC. I live in California, but someday it might be Zanzibar, or the left bank of Paris, maybe the right. I have no idea. Do you see how complicated it gets? Now, if you'd like to know more about the book and check out the illustrations, I'm going to share a YouTube link with you so you can check out the trailer. Wrapping things up. Here are some reasons why I think this book has value. When I was just halfway through reading, I was already impressed by how Kashyap showed Tina coping with life's various challenges. Example, losing her best friend, in a very realistic fashion that's sure to hit home with many readers. Further, in reflection, if this book had been published when I was in high school, which really wasn't that long ago, it would have been one of my favorites, and definitely a comfort read for me back in the day. Confession, I think it's already one of my new favorites. If you like this book, it likely can be found at your local library. Of course, try there first. However, if they don't own it, and you happen to live in the great state of Michigan, you can borrow it from another library. How? Well, you can visit Michigan eLibrary at mel.org, and that's mel.org, where you can simultaneously search hundreds of libraries all at one time. It's awesome. All you'll need is your library card on hand. If you run into trouble, you can always ask the librarian for assistance. In fact, many libraries will offer to do this for you. Now, if this book interested you, and you're looking for another coming-of-age story told in graphic novel format, you may want to look at Persepolis, the story of a childhood by Marjane Satrapi, and or American-Born Chinese by Jean Lewin Yang. If you're not crazy about graphic novels, but you're still interested in further reading, here are some related subjects to check out: individualism, coming of age, existentialism, East Indian Americans, and immigration. And I'd like to thank you for your time, and happy reading!